What's happening, financial coaches? It's Pete here. Hey, I want to talk to you today. I don't know. Someone asked me recently, are we in a recession? Do you think we are? And the problem with it is we can only really report on it after the fact. And to me, it doesn't really matter. But I know a lot of people have been talking about, hey, I'm not getting the clients I want. I'm not even getting the beta clients I want, the testing clients. I don't really do a beta client type of thing. I either bring on clients or I don't, but I get it. If you really feel like that's the right path for you, feel free to do it. What I want to say here though is that I get in strong economies, you know, reverse 6 months ago, 8 months ago, when things felt good, it might have been tougher to get financial coaching clients. Now, I could argue the other side of that too. When people are doing well and they have money, they have some discretionary cash to hire people like you and me. But right now, you should be able to get clients. And now I'm not saying that the floodgates are going to open and you're going to be turning people away. I'm not saying that. But right now is the moment that you should be getting them. And it should be no easier than right now. So as things get better, as economies improve, I think it actually gets tougher to get them. And I'll kind of explain why, but this has been my experience having done this over the last decade about when you're going to get clients. And it has less to do with the economics of what's going on and more about kind of the stigma of what's going on. And basically, what I'm trying to say here too is that if you're not getting clients right now, as the winds change and people are going to be less likely to engage with a financial coach, you're probably going to have things dry up a little bit. There's going to be some ebb and flow to it. And I want you to be busy right now because this is as good as the getting gets, I think, right? So, why does a bad economy help? For me, the reason I got into this was back in 2010, 2011. And the problem is we're coming out of a very, very tough economy, the Great Recession, as they called it. And a lot of people were still hurting, even though through those years, right? Economy was still stagnant. People were struggling to find jobs. And that's where my program was born. And that's how I got into it. And I pivoted from a kind of professional advisor role into kind of this free and at the time licensed role. And I was just trying to help people. And we had no shortage of people, no shortage of them. Because one, the economy was tough. People were struggling with money, right? So that's a factor that I think is going to help you. But then on top of that, because the discussion across the country was, hey, it's bad for a lot of people. People are losing their homes. People are losing their jobs. People can't put food on the table, right? That started breaking down the walls and the stigma of people talking about money. The reality is, no matter how good or bad the economy is, there are always people struggling with money. More than you probably even think, right? Even when the economy is good, even when you see your friends employed, even when they're getting financing for big houses and cool cars and all this stuff, a lot of people are hurting in ways that you just can't see, and they're able to mask it because things are good and people can kind of stay one step ahead of the collector in many cases. And so it's hard because the stigma holds people back from admitting that. Sometimes they don't want to go to someone and say, hey, can you help me? And maybe people that are doing well think, hey, I can do well on my own. Every move they make in the stock market seems to return double-digit returns, right? So they don't feel like they need people like us. Like I said, you don't have to work with just the struggling. You work with the people in surplus and the people that are saving and the people that are doing really well too. But what happens in a time like this, and what was happening in 2010 and 2011, is that the stigma was gone, that you could talk about it. Not only could you talk about it with a professional, but you could actually talk about it with some of your friends, like, hey, it's really bad out there. Or you could have your car repossessed and people wouldn't bat an eye at it because, hey, they're worried about it, or they see it happen so much. Or you remember homes were going into foreclosure. To say that you were short selling wasn't a big deal. Kind of the impressions by people of what was acceptable and what wasn't were changing. And I think right now we're kind of in that situation. They're talking about stimulus and they're talking about people that are struggling and people that are only in their apartments and they're not evicted because of the moratorium on evictions, right? There are a lot of people out there that, one, need the help. But two, I also think we have busted down the walls of the stigma of asking for help or talking about our finances. And so right now is kind of the best time to get people on. And especially if you're looking for free clients, there should be no shortage of those, right? Now, again, I'm not saying that you should be having 10, hot inquiries a day. That's not what I'm saying. But if you're going weeks now and doing the right things and trying to talk to people, maybe you're not doing the right things, but even if you feel like you are and people are coming to you, This is a point where maybe you should say, what is it going to be like when there's more competition out there, more financial coaches doing this, when there's going to be less demand, when there's going to be more barriers to people kind of talking about their finances. All right. I have seen it. And I'm not saying that like, everything's exploded, but I certainly have had a lot of people come back in the last couple weeks here, last few weeks, texting me, emailing me saying, hey, I've got some questions. Hey, can I pay you to talk about some of these things? I don't know if you're still doing it in the same way that you were before, or the same rates, but I'm looking for some help. So without any marketing, without any pro action on my part, one of the things I've noticed is just more inbounds, and it's work that I really don't have the capacity to take at the moment. And in some cases, for some of the people I knew, maybe I'm doing some of this um, for free, pro bono, and that's fine too. And some of these people just need maybe a shot in the arm or a short conversation, whatever it might be. But what I'm seeing and feeling already is more demand because of kind of the changing winds of economic times here. So if you're not busy, I would say, use this as a moment to reflect, because, and I'm not trying to tell you that you're not doing it right, but maybe the marketing or the way you're trying to gain exposure isn't working. Maybe people know what you do, and maybe they just don't have enough confidence in what you're doing to reach out to you. Maybe they're still shy about it. So maybe it's the messaging that you have to come out with. Maybe you have to show some vulnerability. Maybe you have to share some experiences. Maybe you have to kind of talk more specifically about certain cases that you can work with, or give some tips. Maybe you can give more actionable advice as opposed to talking generalities. I'm not sure what it is, but if you're not getting the demand right now, I don't think it's going to get better. It certainly could be more of the same for a while too. But as the economy gets better and people start climbing up about talking about some of these things in a real way, that kind of dries up the financial coaching business sometimes. So think about that. You should be busy right now because of kind of the way things are. And if you're not, take a look at your process, take a look at your offering, take a look at yourself, and maybe you can uncover something that's holding you back. So those are my thoughts right now. I'll talk to you later.